Welcome to Stoic Tips. We've been conditioned to believe that love must be earned through sacrifice, that power comes from control, and that respect is something to beg for. But true masculinity, rooted in Stoic wisdom and Machiavellian clarity, operates on an entirely different level. This isn't about manipulation. It's not about ego. It's about becoming the kind of man who doesn't chase, because he knows he is the prize. A man who doesn't explain, because his actions speak louder than any plea for validation. A man who builds his kingdom from the inside out and watches what he needs flow naturally toward him. In this video, you'll uncover the psychological and philosophical principles that separate the top 1% of men, those who lead with depth, presence, and purpose. If you've ever felt like you were giving everything and still not being seen, this is your turning point. 1. The high-value man needs no audience. What if I told you that real power begins when no one's watching? The strongest man in the room is the one who isn't trying to prove anything, especially not to her. We live in a world that constantly baits men into performing. Be impressive, be generous, be agreeable. And in trying to be enough, they lose the most important thing, their center. The man of value doesn't need applause to feel powerful. He doesn't chase validation. He doesn't collapse into apology when she pulls away. He remains still, rooted in his purpose, while the world spins around him. Imagine two men after an argument with the woman they're dating. One sends 3 texts, calls, then apologizes for things he didn't even do, just to win her back. The other says one thing, calm, direct, firm, and then lets the silence speak. Hours pass, days maybe, and eventually it's her who reaches out. Why? Because the first man chased. The second man stood still and became the mystery. That's the difference between reaction and presence, between performance and power. The first man needs her emotional reaction to feel secure. The second already is secure. This is what Stoic philosophy teaches us. Real strength isn't found in controlling others. It's in mastering the only thing that truly matters, your own mind. Epictetus said it clearly. Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. When you try to control a woman's attention, you enslave yourself to her response. When you let go and focus on self-mastery, your freedom becomes your magnetism. Women don't fall for noise. They fall for depth, for stillness, for the man who doesn't flinch under emotional pressure. Machiavelli warned, "The man who reveals too much emotional dependence appears weak, even if his actions are well-intentioned. The one who holds back, who watches, who responds instead of reacts, he commands quiet authority. In love, this is how dominance is earned, not through control, but through discipline. Let's go deeper." When a woman pulls back or goes silent, most men panic. They rush to fix it, afraid the connection is slipping away. But a high-value man does something radical. Nothing. He knows that if the bond is real, it doesn't need to be chased. And if it isn't, no amount of chasing will make it so. This isn't indifference. It's sovereignty. A man who is not seduced by emotional highs and lows isn't cold. He's clear. He doesn't punish. He doesn't retreat. He simply stands at the center of his own emotional kingdom. From that place, he decides when to speak, when to stay silent, when to stay, and when to walk. And here's the irony. That stillness, that absence of need, is what draws women in. Because when you can't be shaken by silence, when you don't rush to prove your worth, she begins to ask, who is this man who doesn't bend for me? And just like that, her attention shifts. Not something you chase, something you attract, not through effort, through essence. Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." In modern love, the best response isn't to play her games, it's to rise above them entirely. Be the man who doesn't chase her moods, who doesn't beg for her attention, who stands so firmly in his values that she must either respect you or leave. And if she leaves, let her. Because a man who values his peace more than a fleeting pleasure will always come out stronger. So next time you're tested by her silence, her guilt, her withdrawal, pause, breathe, and ask yourself, am I acting from fear or from self-mastery? The best response isn't to play her games, it's to rise above them entirely. Be the man who doesn't chase her moods. Be the man who doesn't beg for access to her emotions. Be the man who stands so firmly in his values that she either rises to meet him or walks away. And if she walks, let her. Because a man who values his peace over temporary pleasure will always emerge stronger. So the next time you're tested by her silence, her guilt, her withdrawal, pause, breathe, and ask yourself, am I acting from self-mastery or self-abandonment? Then choose mastery, every single time, because that's what the top 1% of men do. They don't perform, they don't plead, they protect their presence like a fortress, only opening the gates for those who've truly earned it. Now, speak it into existence. Comment below, I need no audience. I build my power in silence. Part 2. 5. Machiavellian rules for emotional sovereignty. Power is never won by accident, especially in the emotional battlefield of relationships. In this space, the men who rise are not the loudest, the richest, or the most charming. They're the most composed. They move with strategy, not sentiment. And no one understood this better than Niccolò Machiavelli. He didn't teach manipulation. He taught sovereignty, how to move through complex dynamics without being swallowed by them. Let's apply 5 of his most potent principles to the emotional terrain where most men falter. Relationships. Rule 1. Speak less, watch more. In moments of emotional tension, most men overshare. They explain, they justify, they talk themselves into weakness. But a high-value man, he listens like a mirror, quiet, clear, unreadable. Why? Because as Machiavelli said, the impulsive man becomes predictable, and predictable men are easy to control. When she pulls back, tests you with silence or sarcasm, your stillness becomes your signal. I am not moved by chaos. And that silence, it creates space. Space for her curiosity, her regret, her reflection. Rule 2. Control the frame, or be trapped in hers. In every conversation, someone defines reality. If you let her dictate the frame, what's true, what's acceptable, you become the follower, and she will test that. Why are you being distant? You always shut down. Start defending, and you've already lost the frame. Instead, remain grounded. She says, you're pulling away. You respond, I take time to reflect before reacting. She questions your feelings. You stay calm, present, unshaken. You reset the narrative. Now she's responding to your energy, not controlling it. Rule 3. Win her mind before you win her heart. Most men rush to impress emotionally before they've earned her respect psychologically. They give reassurance, gifts, vulnerability, without ever asking, what does she actually respect? A woman can feel touched, but not led, admired, but not guided. Before investing deeply, ask yourself, does she crave peace or chaos? Does she view masculine leadership as strength or label it controlling? The Machiavellian man doesn't just hear words, he watches patterns. Only when you win her mind through clarity, restraint, and intention will her heart truly follow. Rule 4. See through the mask. Without triggering the guard, confidence. Detachment, humour. These are not always traits. They're sometimes shields. Every woman wears a mask at times, not out of deceit, but protection. The wrong man tries to tear the mask off. The wise man sees through it and waits. She says, "Do whatever you want." The average man argues. The sovereign man hears the fear behind her words and calmly replies, "I want clarity, not conflict." He doesn't force emotion, he invites it. And in that safety, her guard lowers because he didn't challenge her ego. He spoke directly to the part hiding behind it. Rule 5. Become the mystery. She can't decode. You don't owe anyone a blueprint of your soul. When every thought is explained, every feeling exposed, you lose your edge. Predictability may feel safe, but mystery is magnetism. When you're slightly elusive, not because of games, but because of genuine inner fulfillment, you create space. And in that space, she leans in. You become the puzzle she wants to solve, not the man she already understands. She wants to fill the silence you leave behind. Let her wonder what you're thinking. Let her question where she stands. And never fear being a mystery, because the man who holds a quiet, secret world within himself becomes unforgettable. These rules aren't about cruelty. They're codes of power. Power to stay centered. Power to stay clear. Power to walk away with peace instead of begging for comfort. Machiavelli once said, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." But in love, when you walk in silence, strength and self-respect, you earn both. Not through pressure, not through performance, but through pure presence. Remember, emotional dominance is not control. It's not about bending her, it's about not being bent by her. The moment you stop reacting to every emotion, every silence, every test, you become sovereign. She might not always understand it, but she will feel it. And that feeling will haunt her in the best way. Speak it. Stand in it. Comment below, "I don't chase power, I embody it in silence." Part 3. Real power is not control. It's clarity. Most men think power means doing more texts, more explanations, more emotional proving. But real power doesn't come from doing, it comes from being, from stillness, from clarity. The high-value man doesn't fight for control. He stands so firmly in his truth that no one can pull him off balance. Let's be clear. Clarity is not dominance. It's not loud. It doesn't beg. It doesn't shout. Clarity is silent strength. It's knowing who you are and refusing to let anyone, especially a woman's shifting moods or emotional games, define you. Picture this. She starts playing hot and cold. One day she's affectionate. The next she pulls away. Most men panic. They chase, they explain, they try to fix. But a sovereign man, he doesn't chase answers. He is the answer. He knows what he brings. If she's unclear, that's her storm, not his shortcoming. This is why Machiavelli emphasized perception. Power isn't just what's true. It's how truth is perceived. The man who over-explains begins to look insecure. The man who stays quiet, measured and present, he becomes undeniable. Clarity also means holding your standards, especially when they cost you something. If you say, "I don't tolerate disrespect, but let her sarcasm slide," you're not clear. If you say, "I value my time, but rearrange your life because she's suddenly available," you're not clear. Women don't follow men who talk about values. They follow men who live them. From a Stoic lens, this is self-rule. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "A man's worth is no greater than the worth of his ambitions. If your ambition is to be liked, you'll sacrifice clarity for comfort. But if your ambition is mastery of yourself, your emotions, your path, then clarity becomes your sharpest weapon and strongest shield." In relationships, clarity shows up quietly. You don't rush to fix her moods. You don't apologize for your boundaries. You don't explain why you didn't reply in 5 minutes. You move slowly, intentionally, from purpose, not pressure. Here's the paradox. The less you try to control her, the more magnetized she becomes. Because when you are the calm in her storm, she's drawn in again and again. She'll test you, not to break you, but to feel you. She'll go quiet. She'll ask loaded questions. She'll pull to provoke. But the man of clarity, he doesn't flinch. He listens. He pauses. And when he speaks, his words land, anchored, grounded, unshakable. This isn't coldness. It's conscious direction. You feel, but you don't flail. You care, but you don't collapse. You respond, you never react. That's what Jung meant by individuation, becoming a whole self. Complete, grounded, not dependent on external validation. A woman should complement your life, not complete it. Because you were already whole before she arrived. You are not half a soul searching for completion. You are a man, whole, grounded and walking his path. She may walk beside you, but you do not bend your road for her detours. Clarity means this: I know who I am, I know what I stand for. I do not negotiate my values to be more liked. In fact, it's this posture, calm, certain, unwavering, that makes you respected, even desired. So the next time you're tempted to explain yourself, to soften your truth, to fix what isn't yours to fix, pause. Ask, am I acting from power or from fear? Am I leading with clarity or clinging for control? When your boundaries are clear, your heart is calm. When your presence is full, your words can be few. And when your path is yours, not hers, you become unshakable. Now speak it. Clarity is my power. I don't explain what I embody. 4. Love without a leash. The masculine way to choose. Real love doesn't chain a man, it frees him. But in today's world, love often gets confused. Loyalty becomes loyalty tests. Sacrifice becomes submission. Presence becomes proof. That's not love. That's leash work. And a high-value man doesn't wear a collar. He chooses love from sovereignty, not from emotional obligation. And this is where most men fall. They find love and lose themselves. They trade their mission for her approval. They confuse surrender with connection. But love given from insecurity turns into resentment. Love must come from overflow, never from emptiness. A sovereign man doesn't need love to feel whole. He chooses it, but never chases it. And because he doesn't need her to validate him, his love holds weight. It's not a desperate pull. It's a grounded offering. As Machiavelli warned, he who seeks to be loved at all costs becomes dispensable. The moment you need her to see you a certain way, you've handed her your frame and lost yourself. True love honors freedom, not emotional debt. This is why Stoicism and love, though rarely linked, actually belong together. The Stoic man doesn't suppress emotion. He refines it. He doesn't run from love. He purifies it. He says, I will love you, but I will not lose myself in you. I will open my heart, but I will not abandon my mission. Because when you love from wholeness, you're no longer terrified of losing her. Why? Because you weren't seeking completion. You were simply choosing connection. And in practice, that looks like this: saying no when something violates your standards, even if it upsets her. staying on your mission, even when she craves more of your time. Speaking the truth, calmly, clearly, even when it creates discomfort. This love doesn't scream, it doesn't beg, it doesn't explain itself. It exists, strong, still, unyielding. And the paradox? The more grounded you are, the more she melts into her feminine. Because she senses you're not trying to win her, you're simply being yourself. Real love isn't about pleasing, it's about choosing. And every time you love without needing, every time you hold her without holding on, she feels it. She feels the difference between attention and devotion, obsession and grounded connection. Let's be clear, this isn't about withholding love. It's about giving it from the right place, from centeredness, not scarcity. Because when you love from fullness, even if she leaves, you remain whole. Carl Jung called this integrated masculinity. When a man knows his shadow, honors his values, and leads with clarity, not chaos. In that space, love becomes sacred, not strategic. So the next time love calls, ask yourself, am I giving her my soul or offering her my presence? Am I building with her or abandoning myself for her? Because when a man chooses love without leashing his identity, she feels it, she respects it, and if she's worthy, she will rise to meet it. Now say it and own it. I love with presence, not permission. 5. Build the kingdom within, the true source of attraction. A man does not attract from what he gives to others. He attracts from what he builds within himself. In a world drowning in noise, where attention is currency and performance is mistaken for power, there exists a rare kind of man. A man who moves differently. He's not looking to impress. He's not playing games. He's too focused building his kingdom, his inner world of discipline, mission, and peace. That's what draws people in. Most men chase validation. They optimize for likes, approval, and fleeting attention. But the high-value man, he optimizes for sovereignty. He asks himself, is this in alignment with the man I'm becoming? If the answer is no, he lets it go, even if it means letting her go, because he knows a truth most avoid. Attention is a byproduct of presence, and presence is built from inner order. As Machiavelli taught, the wise ruler secures his kingdom before expanding his reach. This applies to love too. If your mind is chaotic, your goals vague, your standards soft, then your relationships will reflect that. She won't feel safe, not because you're unkind, but because you're unstable. But when your life is structured, not rigid but intentional, she feels it. She may not know why she's drawn to you, but something in her relaxes around you. That something is your unshakable alignment, and you don't build that by chasing her. You build it by chasing purpose, by making your mornings sacred, by treating your workouts as non-negotiable, by making your word your bond. Carl Jung called this individuation, becoming whole. When you stop trying to complete yourself through women and instead let women complement the man you've already become, you stop being reactive. You become magnetic. Stoicism calls this arete, excellence of character. Marcus Aurelius said it best: waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. That's the essence. Don't explain your value. Embody it. And the result? You stop fearing rejection. Because your worth doesn't come from her response. It comes from your path. You don't overreact to distance or disrespect. You don't flinch at silence. You recognize it for what it is, a test of your frame. And instead of scrambling to prove yourself, you return to your mission. Because the real prize was never her attention. It was becoming the man you respect when no one else is watching. This doesn't mean you close your heart. It means you protect your peace. You invite love in, but never abandon your kingdom to keep it. You show her warmth, but never sacrifice your fire. So what does this look like in real life? You set boundaries even when it costs you comfort. You say no to drama so you can say yes to clarity. You build a life so full of purpose that love becomes the cherry on top, not the entire meal. Yes, this kind of man is rare, but that's exactly what makes him irresistible. Because in a world of noise, he becomes signal. In a sea of neediness, he stands in abundance. So if you want to become unforgettable, don't chase what's outside. Turn inward. Build the kingdom. Keep your standards sharp. Keep your energy clean. And guard your path like it's sacred, because it is. When a man owns himself, fully, quietly, unapologetically, he becomes the kind of man no woman forgets. Now say it. I build my kingdom before I invite anyone in. A high-value man doesn't scream his worth. He lives it. He doesn't try to control others. He masters himself. He doesn't trade peace for attention. He lets his presence command the room. And love? It's not a leash. It's a conscious choice, made only when it aligns with his path. You don't need to become someone else. You need to return to the man you were before the world taught you to beg for approval. Reclaim your silence. Reclaim your clarity. Reclaim your kingdom. Now speak it and mean it. I build my kingdom before I invite anyone in.